Welcome into the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That is Wade Neely sporting his Everton kit. I'm Maurice Patton sporting my Braves kit, and we are here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. So get in, sit down, shut up, and hang on. It's going to be a ride. Wade, what's up?
What's happening, Mo? Good to be with you and good to be with everybody. Had to show off the Everton top today because they played their last home match at Goodison Park. Been playing there since 1892. It has hosted more Premier League matches than any other stadium in the history of English football. So they went out with a 2-0 win yesterday, which was kind of shocking given their history, but a good win and a good day.
You said 1892?
Yeah.
So they were about due for some new digs then, right?
Yeah, they'd done some upgrades, and our good friends of the show, Robbie Bourne and Clay Trainham, they had made their trips, the pilgrimage, if you will, over to Liverpool to check it out. But I didn't have that luxury, so I've lived vicariously through the American fans over there. But, since 1892, it's about time for a new spot.
I would dare say, yeah. So good for them. And they closed it out the right way, huh?
Closed it out the right way, and the Everton women's team is going to move into Goodison Park. Everton's going to move right across the street, still right there beside Liverpool, or Liver Scum, excuse me. And, you get a chance to see some new digs. They preserve a little bit of the history. Yeah, good vibes for them this weekend. I did not make the 6 a.m. Watch party over at the Black Abbey yesterday, but I did watch a little bit in spirit, and it was emotional yesterday as the boys got the win.
Slacker. Big show today. In the second let's start here. In the second segment, we will be joined by Doug FEINBERG of the Associated Press. The Women's National Basketball Association had its opening weekend of the regular season this weekend, and excited to check in with Doug and see what jumped out at him from the first 2 or 3 days of play. So we will visit with him in our next segment. In the second hour, we will be joined by longtime college baseball umpire Scott CLINE. Scott is headed down to Hoover, Alabama to work the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament, as he typically does. Looking forward to checking in with him as the college baseball postseason is upon us. And I think some teams are ready for the postseason because the regular season hasn't necessarily been great for them. But we'll be talking more with Scott in the next hour about that. We'll be talking more SEC baseball as the show progresses. Also some NCAA softball. A little more soccer on this side of the pond. Professional postseason action as NBA and NHL playoffs continue. We'll get into a little Braves, a little Major League Baseball, and some golf and some horse racing. Probably going to get us started here in the next little bit. But yeah, plenty to get to. It was a big weekend.
A lot going on, and by and large, the weather ducked us over the weekend, which was a pleasant surprise. Didn't get rough till super late Friday night, so everybody was hopefully safe and sound. But yeah, we got a lot of goods to tap into today. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it got rough Friday night, but by Saturday morning, it was all gone. So, and fortunately, the baseball game that I had to cover Saturday was on artificial turf. So everything
Even better.
was good. Yeah, even better. Good weekend. We're going to get into all of it here in the next little bit. Let's go ahead and get started with it, with this weekend's results and today's schedule, such as it is, on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Let's swing into it, folks. The Monday rundown is moments away, but before we begin, we want to remind you that each and every single Monday, our rundown is brought to you by our friends at Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education right here in Murray County. So give them a call today at 931-388-5831, or you can visit them online at zioneagles.org and schedule an appointment today. That's Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
High school baseball results from Friday. Independence with a 3-2 win over Beach. It was Blackman doubling up Cleveland 10-5. Siegel in a pitcher's duel defeated Bradley Central 1-0. Clarksville down Houston 6-4. Rossview on the road knocks off Collierville 10-6. It was Green Hill with a 4-3 win at Columbia Central. Coverage at mainstreetmurray.com. And Lipscomb Academy blanks Memphis University School 6-0. In softball action on Friday, Rossview comes up with a 7-0 win over Collierville. Dixon County also with a shutout victory, 2-0 over Arlington. It was Watertown 20, East Nashville 3. Green Hill edged Coffee County 7-6. Heritage with an 11-1 win over visiting Lawrence County. Liberty Creek defeats Whites Creek 7-0. McNary Central with a 2-1 win over Station Camp. It was Page 10, Mount Juliet 7. Creekwood downs Portland 10-0. Joe Burns edges South Pittsburgh 2-1. Stewart's Creek doubling up East Hamilton 4-2. And Walker Valley 1, Oakland 0.
More rundown continues from Friday. On Friday night, it was the Braves defeating the Red Sox 4-2. It was the Astros topping the Rangers 6-3. Memphis defeated Nashville in minor league baseball action. The Sounds falling again 8-5, I should say, was your final there. WNBA did crank up on Friday, and it was Washington defeating Atlanta 94-90. Minnesota topping Dallas 99-84, and the Sparks defeating the Valkyries 84-67. Saw a couple of games on Saturday. Mo mentioned one a moment ago. Blackman defeated Cleveland, 9-1. Green Hill defeated Columbia 9-2 on a high school baseball Saturday. Sectional scores there. More sectional action. Boys soccer. It was 4-3 as Hume Fogg outlasts Chester County on Saturday. Siegel with a 1-0 win versus Cleveland. Forest 2, Harpeth 0. It was Franklin 5, Beach 1. Hendersonville topping Ravenwood 2-0. Houston with a 1-0 victory versus Clarksville. The Fighting John Spencers, the Battle Creek Grizzlies in their first year, defeating Huntington with a 2-1 victory. Congrats to Coach and all the Grizzlies on that big win there. Independence Academy with a 7-0 victory versus White House Heritage. STEM Academy slipping by Liberty Creek 3-2. It was Bartlett 2-0 over Rossview. South Doyle defeats Murfreesboro Central Magnet 2-0. And Station Camp with a 9-0 dismantling of Sycamore.
Major League Baseball scores from Saturday. It was the Texas Rangers with a 5-1 win over the Houston Astros, and the Boston Red Sox walked off the Atlanta Braves at Fenway Park on Big Fox. 7-6 the final on a Rafael Devers solo home run to win it. Nashville Sounds bounced back down at Memphis. They downed the Redbirds 4-3 in Major League Soccer action over at Geodis Park. This was a little disappointing. Wade and I will talk more about it later, but the Nashville Soccer Club and DC United play to a scoreless draw. 1 point out of that one for the boys in gold. Not great. WNBA action from Saturday. The Liberty downs the Aces 92-78. We'll talk more about that one with Doug Feinberg in the next segment. Also, the Fever defeating the Sky 93-58. Speaking of dismantlings, also Phoenix defeats Seattle 81-59. Oh,
let's go Sunday. I'll pick you up here for Sunday
right,
baseball. Because the Astros defeat the Rangers 4-3 and the Braves knock off the Red Sox 10-4. It was a 10-6 victory for Memphis over the Sounds to cap their series. A couple of WNBA games. Nice win for the Mystics over the Sun, 90-85. And the Lynx pick up a 89-75 win yesterday versus the Sparks.
Baseball action today of local interest. Houston goes on the road, taking on the host Tampa Bay Rays. That's a 6:05 start. And in WNBA action tonight at 7, you can see it on NBA TV. The Seattle Storm visits the Dallas Wings. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And Couple of weekend winners of note this weekend. One, journalism. Journalism wins. You don't hear that often in today's society, but yes, journalism wins at the Preakness Stakes, coming from behind to take down Gosger. Is that right? Did I get that right?
I think so.
Yeah. Again, had to rally down the stretch to win it after being the favorite for the second straight race in the Triple Crown. Picking up the win after coming up short at Churchill Downs a couple of weeks ago. But again, journalism comes back for the win. Sandman finishes third there at the Preakness. So again, we knew we would not have a Triple Crown winner because Sovereignty, which won the Kentucky Derby, did not run at the Preakness, will run apparently at the Belmont Stakes the first weekend in June. So no Triple Crown this year. Kind of disappointing, but it'll be nice to see journalism and Sovereignty, assuming journalism runs, face off at Belmont, I guess.
Yeah, face off at Belmont, face off on a little bit longer track as well. So we'll see. Could, be not quite the same sex appeal as if we had a Triple Crown threat, but a good little duel perhaps between those two, which have been the two best thus far. And journalism coming roaring back so much so. Didn't get to watch the race live. Didn't even get to watch the Black-Eyed Susan, which is the race just prior. Always a fun race, kind of like the Oaks before, just to get you warmed up. But Margie's Intention, just had to sneak in a little love for Margie's Intention there, which wins the Black-Eyed Susan this year. But yeah, didn't watch the race live, but I showed the clip to the wife. She's a big horse girl, and she says, "Oh man, he's got a big lead." And I was like, "Oh no, just keep watching. That's not him." And you see journalism come throttling from the back, very similar to what we saw from Baeza at the Kentucky Derby. The only difference was a little bit more distance to be had there. That allowed journalism to get the win. And, it was not without a little consternation. You had some bumping. We're curious if we would see a little maximum security from 2019 at the Derby in terms of would they go back and regrade the finish. But none of that. Good ride for journalism. Good trip for Michael McCarthy's horse. And the favorite, in a smaller field and in a quote-unquote weaker field. Somebody's got to win, and it was good to see journalism come through.
Hey, if you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing, right?
Well, a little too much rubbing, though, and they'll bring you back like they did back in 2019. But got by, and journalism survives. And, yeah, in theory, we set up a nice little head-to-head showdown now. We're kind of a winner-take-all, if you will, heading into the Belmont. There
we go. Again, journalism, Gosger, and Sandman, your win, place, and show at the Preakness this weekend. Second wasn't close in the PGA Championship this weekend. Scotty Scheffler picks up his third victory of the year, right? Winning over at Quail Hollow this weekend by 5 strokes. And is Scotty the best player on the tour right now, Wade?
He's the best player in the world and has been. And we saw that just when you think about just for a moment doubting this guy, yeah, he's still got the goods. He is still the best in the world. And we saw him, yes, some kind of players in front of him wilted a little bit, looking at you, John Rahm, who kind of melted down toward the end of yesterday. But we saw Scotty really, from Friday on, he was just kind of lurking. And it was like old school Tiger where he's just lurking. And you wondered if it'd be Saturday. You wonder if it'd be Sunday when he really kind of turned the screws. And Saturday was with that epic 65 to kind of get things going. Gave him such a nice head start that he really didn't have to do quite as much on Sunday. And for the best guy in the world, I mean, fresh out of jail, he's a beacon of hope for those. You can fully rehabilitate. We saw Scotty kind of get back into form here with a nice win and take care of business at Quail Hollow by 5 shots, kind of just commanding over everybody else.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That was his second win of the season. It's his third major, though. And it's funny you mentioned Tiger because the only pros quicker to 15 career victories than Scheffler are Tiger and Nicholas. Not bad company right there.
Yeah, I mean, we continue to see it, and we saw him take just a little bit of a lull toward the end of last season. We saw him take just a little bit of a lull to start this season, but he's still been lingering. I mean, he was still kind of right there in the mix, didn't play his best by any stretch of the imagination at Augusta, and was still sitting there just close enough, kind of like Tiger, right? When he is on the first 2, maybe even 3 pages of the leaderboard heading into the weekend, everybody's got to be on high alert. And we saw that yet again. He had won at the Byron Nelson just a couple weeks prior, and that intensity kind of just cranks up. And we saw it on full display. He kind of, like I said, John Rahm and some others kind of wilted under the pressure, but that's part of it. Not only are you going out and playing your best, but you're also kind of making some others, whether it's DeChambeau or Rahm, crumple. And Scotty does it yet again. I mean, this guy is a phenom.
Meanwhile, Phil Mickelson apparently made some comments on the socials a few weeks ago, kind of calling Scotty into question. Does Scotty win in 2025 before the Ryder Cup? I don't think so, was a tweet from @Phil Mickelson on March 16th. Phil heard about it here over the last little bit, apparently, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess if you're an expert, you have to go out on that limb sometimes. I'm not sure what necessarily prompted Mickelson to go out and shoot off like that, but apparently it did not go well. Again, Scotty, hotter than fish grease right now.
Didn't go well, but, props to Phil. He went back and said, he dropped his apology, so to speak, yesterday. Said congrats to Scotty on incredible performance. Clearly number 1 in the world. Really all you can say at that point. You just got to own up to it. And Phil's not a lightning rod for any reason, right? I mean, he knows how to stir it to his credit or to his detriment at times. And he at least went back and made amends. But what else could you say? We're talking about a guy that is literally, as Phil said, clearly number 1 in the world.
There we go. Congrats to Scheffler. Congrats to journalism. We always like it when journalism wins here on Main Street Sports Today. As we continue the weekend warm-up here, when we come back from this break, we'll be joined by Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press talking a little WNBA and their season opening weekend. Stick around.
Get ready, race fans. NASCAR is back in Music City with a new name, the Cracker Barrel 400. Guitars, fast cars, and the comfort of Cracker Barrel's country hospitality. May 30th through June 1st. The action kicks off Friday night at Nashville Superspeedway with the Rackley Roofing 200. Then the Tennessee Lottery 250 on Saturday. And Sunday night, NASCAR's top stars under the lights in the Cracker Barrel 400. Get your tickets now at NashvilleSuperspeedway.com.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need...
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Bee, oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
The weekend warm-up continues. The weekend wrap-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And joining us now from the Associated Press is Doug Feinberg.
What's up, guys?
What's happening, man? Appreciate you coming in with us here on this Monday to talk a little WNBA as they played their regular season opening weekend. What caught your eye most significantly this weekend?
Well, if I can backtrack for 1 second, I'm just always excited to finally come in after a talk about journalism, because everyone loves that horse in the media. So it's always great when journalism rallies to a victory. We love that as media people. That's the perfect storm, so to speak. But
it really is. Absolutely.
Yeah. But the W got started also on Saturday. It was sort of the appetizer before, or the main course before the race, which is great. You had I was at the New York versus Las Vegas game to tip it off. You had the Liberty look great. I mean, had the ring ceremony, the first one in franchise history, and you had a nice win over Las Vegas. Both teams will be really good when we get to the midpoint of the season, I think, and the end of the season. Then you had a little game in Indiana between Chicago and the Fever that drew some eyeballs to it. I'm sure I haven't seen ratings yet, but I'm guessing they're probably pretty good. And then obviously there was some stuff going on there with Angel and Caitlin, it seemed.
Go figure, huh?
Surprising, right? Yeah.
Yeah, never would have expected that to happen. Yeah, is there enough oxygen for the Indiana and the Sky and for Caitlin and for Angel and then for everybody else in the league?
Well, they're playing 5 times this year, so there better be enough oxygen or else we're going to be in a little bit of an issue there. But listen, Caitlin 100% was a huge reason. I'm not going to say 100% reason why, but a huge reason. There was unbelievable ratings, record attendance last year. Angel was another big part of it. I saw her in New York. I saw her in Connecticut. She brought in fans. People wanted to see her. They were cheering her in New York. She got the loudest ovation of anyone not in the Liberty every time they came to the city. So she has a huge fan base out there. Caitlin's unbelievable. So you have those 2 stars. You add in Paige Beckers in Dallas, another great young rookie this year who's going to bring a big fan base with her. New York's got a fan base. Vegas got a fan base. There's enough oxygen for now, and I guess we're growing. If it's a balloon, it's getting bigger every year, it seems. I don't think it's going to burst anytime soon, so it's good for everybody.
Yeah. Talk about that Liberty Aces game for just a second, because Las Vegas gets 31-16 from Asia and still loses by 14. The Liberty wins by 14 without Benijah Laney Hamilton, who's out for the year, I think, with a knee injury. What is the significance of that outcome on both sides?
Let's go the immediate overreaction. Everyone loves to do Monday morning quarterback, right? Even though we're not on Monday anymore, but Vegas is not very good. That's the overreaction. Well, that would be false. Asia picked up right where she did last year as the MVP of the league, had an awesome game. Jewel Lloyd, who they got in the offseason for Kelsey Plum, was the trade they made to make them a little bit better. Just looked like she's fitting in a new team. She didn't get off to a good start in the game. She didn't score her first basket till I think midway through the second quarter. She'll get more comfortable. She's going to be better. Vegas will be better. Their bench is, I think, stronger this year than it was in the past. Vegas will be fine. Once we get to like a couple months in the season, they'll be more than fine. The other side of it, New York looked really good. Benijah's out for the year with a knee injury, recovering from it. They replaced her with Natasha Cloud, who is, I can't think of a better fit for New York City than Natasha Cloud. A player from Philadelphia, plays hard every play on both ends of the court. The crowd loved her. She lost when she was in Washington 2 years ago in 2023 in the playoffs and had an unbelievable game. And the New York fans gave her a standing ovation for how well she played that game. And it's carried over. She was instrumental. I think it was a 3-point game. On Saturday, she had a 3-point play, made a great defensive play on the other end, and another 3-point play. So turned a 3-point game into a 9-point game. Basically, New York never really got in trouble after that. She'll be great for them. Their bench is better. New York, I think, is going to be the best team in the league if they stay healthy, because Sabrina Ionescu didn't do much and Jonquel Jones didn't do much, and still beat Vegas by 14.
Still beat them by 14. And Doug, you mentioned that Vegas will be fine, but my question is, will they be fine, but as a second-tier team? Does this team still have the goods to kind of really, really compete for a championship, or are they maybe the best of the second tier in your mind after what you saw?
But I think there's 3 really, really good teams coming into the season in New York, Vegas, and Minnesota. I think those 3 are the cream of the crop. Indiana, I put in that conversation, but it's too early because they have so many new pieces to go with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. They added Natasha Howard, they had DeWanna Bonner, they had Sophie Cunningham. It's going to take a little bit of time for them to gel and get to where they want to be, which is win championship or be in the consideration for a championship. So I think they're like, if that was tier 1, they're probably tier 1A right now, but I think they'll get it into tier 1. But yeah, to answer your question, I think Vegas is definitely in still that top tier. They'll be in that conversation that when we get to September, late August, they're going to be battling for one of the top few seeds. No question.
You mentioned Minnesota too. Did we see, is this in a way kind of a revenge tour for Minnesota? Because Friday night felt, I don't want to say personal, but it felt like Minnesota was saying, hey, we see Paige and we see the Wings and, that's great and all, but we're here. We got bigger fish to fry. It just feels like Minnesota seemingly through 2 games is on a mission.
Well, it probably didn't hurt that they named the town that Paige was born in, Hopkins, Minnesota, Paige Becker's Minnesota, the day of that game. And Cheryl Reeve is never one to use an extra little incentive.
No, not Cheryl.
I mean, she said the right things afterwards about it. It's great. Well, great Minnesota player who grew up watching the Lynx. They haven't played New York yet. We'll see how that goes. A little chip on the shoulder there to add to trying to get over the hump this year. They think they were robbed at the end of last season. They thought they should have won a title, whether calls went a certain way or not. Calls were made. You go from that. But I think Minnesota, they didn't make many moves in the offseason, but they were really, really good last year. I think, again, they're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams battling for a title again this season.
Similar question. Did we kick off the Nafisa Collier MVP watch campaign this weekend in your mind?
We did. I mean, listen, she had an unbelievable season in Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 league that she co-founded with Brianna Stewart. She was MVP of that and has just continued that in the first 2 games of the season. She is fantastic. She was just a step behind Asia last year for MVP, and if Asia didn't have the unbelievable historic year she had, Fee would have won it. So she's definitely in the conversation. I think she's definitely one of the top 2 favorites, her and Asia, although the betting lines have, I think Caitlin Clark is in that mix too, which is not a terrible choice, so to speak. But I think Fee is again, what's great about her, she's a 2-way player. She's was defensive player of the year last year and a tremendous offensive player, and she picked up right where she left off in the first 2 games.
Doug, you mentioned Cheryl Reeve, and it feels like she kind of takes her motivation where she finds it. She kind of strikes me as Spurrier-ish a little bit from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, she's one of the best ever to do it in the WNBA. Do it in basketball. Let's go NBA, WNBA, college. She's one of the best ever. She's a great motivator. She's won 4 championships at the WNBA level. She almost had the 5th last year. She just gets the most out of her talent, makes them better. She won a gold medal with the USA Olympic team last summer, which, again, that's no small feat, knowing that they've won so many in a row. And the best you can do is sort of break even by winning another title. And she handled it. They had a tight game against France in the gold medal game. She's a master motivator. She's a heck of a coach. And, yeah, that's probably a good way to look at it. She's one of the best Spurriers in that conversation also, I think, from the college football ranks. Yeah, I'd put that's a good comparison for you.
Yeah. Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Doug, obviously we're going to talk Aces, Liberty, Lynx all year. What about the Mystics getting off to a 2-0 start?
I'm happy for them. They lost Georgia Amore to a knee injury before the season even started. Their first round draft pick, one of 3 they had. Felt awful for her. I think Sydney Johnson, the new coach there, they can only go but up in some ways, I think. They had a nice year with Eric Tebow last year, but just didn't have enough. He's playing the young players. I mean, Brittany Sykes helped them win those first 2 games. I think he averaged 26 points the first 2 games. The win over Connecticut is probably not as surprising. Connecticut's probably a team that's rebuilding. We all know they lost their 5 starters from last year. They might be moving at some point down the road after the season if this talk of sales there happen. But I think that Washington, a nice win over the Dream to start the year, a retooled Dream with Brittany Griner there and Brianna Jones. I think surprising that they're 2-0, yes. Are they going to be a team that's in the upper echelon when the season ends? they probably have some work to do for that to happen, I would think.
Mhm.
But if they make the playoffs, if they're an 8 seed, that's, I think, a good season for them.
Is Amore out for the year?
She is. She had knee surgery the other day. She's finished, unfortunately.
No, I had missed that. That's unfortunate. I hate to hear that. I know, obviously, a lot of high hopes for her coming out of Kentucky and what she had done at Virginia Tech before that. Valkyries take it on the chin in their historic debut, falling to the Sparks. But what did you see out of them?
They had 18,000 fans there for an opening night, and they're sold out for the season, which is a great sign for that franchise. Listen, we all know expansion teams take their lumps in the first couple of years. It's tough. The advantage they have, which other expansion teams don't in other sports and the W in the past, there's basically potentially a reset next year with 80% of the league or 85% of the league is free agents because the new CBA is going to come out. The money's going to go crazy with the salaries next year. So everyone signed 1-year contracts. So if they can show to potential free agents, hey, we got fans that are invested in you every game. We have fantastic facilities here in Golden State. You want to come play for us? They maybe take their lumps this year, get potentially the number 1 pick in the draft, and then get free agents. I think next year, Golden State, if you talk about most improved team, they are my favorite right now with only playing 1 game in their inaugural season to be the most improved team next year.
You mentioned the dream. You mentioned Brittany Griner. She had 18 in that loss to Washington on Friday. Alicia Gray with 25. 4 players in double digits. But what are your thoughts about Griner, being somewhere other than Phoenix?
It takes a little getting used to, right? I mean, she's been her entire career since she drafted number 1 in 2013 in Phoenix. And seeing her in Land Dream uniform just doesn't seem right to me yet. It will. I get it. It's free agency. We all have seen it in sports. I mean, for the most part, 90% of the players or more change teams at least once in their career. It's the special ones, the Derek Jeters, the Cal Ripkens, the Kobe Bryants that don't do it. But it takes a little getting used to. That their offense is shooting threes. She's hit a couple threes in preseason, which is, again, different for her, but she's open to it. That's the style that Coach Mesco wants to go with. Give it a couple of weeks before I actually go, wow, this seems okay to see her in an Atlanta uniform. She's happy. I'm happy. BG is one of the best overall on and off the court, so I'm happy for her.
We mentioned the Valkyries. We probably should have mentioned Kelsey Plum opening her Sparks career with 37 points, 26 of those coming in the second half. I mean, we've talked to Willie G. Ramirez out of Vegas on a few occasions about Plum, and it feels like she's kind of ready to take advantage of maybe a new lease on life, maybe not being somebody's Robin, maybe being Batman now.
Yeah, I mean, she set the record, I think, for the most points in a debut or season opening game with a 37 the other night. Fantastic. I mean, to see her do well and flourish, it's just great. We all know she had a rough year last year on and off the court, and she never complained about it. And I thought she did a really nice job for the Aces in the time she was there, helped them win back-to-back championships in 22 and 23. Just a great person, great player. And you're right. I think a chance for her to be Batman or Wonder Woman or whatever phrase you want to use for her. She's great. I love Kelsey as far as a great player. She's so competitive, so intense. And she's the number 1 option in LA, and it's going to be great for her, I think, to sort of spread her wings a little bit and be that primary choice, which we all know she was in college, as she had the scoring record until Caitlin Clark broke it. So we know she can put points on the board.
Doug, you just mentioned Caitlin Clark. Saturday, obviously a massive victory over the Sky. Did we learn more about Indiana? Did we feel more disappointment from Chicago, or is that just still too early to tell in your mind, taking away that one?
I think a little of everything you said there. I think we learned a little bit of Indiana. They're going to be really good. I think that they have options. They missed a couple too many layups for my liking, as I'm a purist, and Clark's still hitting people and they're missing shots. That will come when they get more used to it. Chicago, I think that they have some injury stuff right now. When they get healthy, they'll be better. Their guards may not be quick enough to stop players like Caitlin Clark right now and Kelsey Mitchell. So we'll see their work in progress to figure out getting the ball to Angel and Camila Cardozo inside. That's their strength. Give them a little time. Courtney Vandersloot, one of the best point guards ever to play the game. Give a little time to get used to playing with them. They'll be okay. We'll see. I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, again, playing in national TV to open the season up, sold-out crowd. It's going to be, I think, more of the same for them on the road when they get out there because people love Caitlin Clark and love that team. Fans come out and support her. So I think they'll be okay. I think they're, as I said earlier on, they're tier 1A right now, but they can definitely get to tier 1 when they actually have some time together as this new group.
Didn't see any minutes for Sophie Cunningham with an ankle injury, it sounds like. How big of a role can she provide in that first year for them as they kind of try and ascend the rankings like you're saying there?
She's another great piece. She can shoot the three, which is great. When you have Clark driving, you leave her open for a spot up three is not a good choice if you're a defensive player. She's a great rebounder. She's a defensive-minded player. She's got toughness to her. She's going to help them. I mean, this ankle thing's not a big deal. Just missed a couple games probably. Maybe she may be back for the next one. They play New York next, I think, later this week or early next week. So that's going to be a judge as far as a measuring stick, so to speak, early on. But Sophie's going to help them when she's healthy, no question.
Other team I wanted to ask you about real quick, maybe one game overreaction, but disappointing effort from the Storm over the weekend. What did you take away? I'm high on the Mercury going into this season, but I was also high on the Storm, and that was kind of a head-scratching result to me on Saturday.
You know, the Mercury made a lot of really nice moves, getting Alyssa Thomas, getting Satu, Sabali. I think that's going to help them. Kalia Copper's out for 4 to 6 weeks with a knee issue, I think, right now, the arthro surgery she had or minor stuff. Alyssa Thomas is a winner, no question. She was great in Connecticut. She's the engine that runs teams. Satu is a great player when she's healthy. So they have two really, really solid players. I think when they get Ka back at 3, Seattle is a bit disappointing. I mean, you have a core of NECA, Skylar, and Ezzy's pretty strong. Gabby Williams is a nice player for them. Malongo, who they drafted number 2, is going to be good down the road. I was a little disappointed in Seattle's effort in the opener, but again, overreaction, so to speak. They'll be fine, I think, when we get to probably July, August. I put them probably middle of the pack right now, tier B, tier 2, so to speak.
And you feel like they'll bounce back tonight at Dallas too, right?
I think so. Dallas is a work in progress. Obviously, Paige is really good. Enrique is really good. I'm curious what happens. The Tiara McCowan, it's sort of what style do you want to use? I mean, I said last year, if you're going to be a slow-down half-court team, McCowan works well. If you want to be up-pace, up-tempo, maybe not as much. So it might see what Chris Klein, the new coach, wants to do with them as far as style goes and how they're going to be this year.
Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, talking a little WNBA. Doug, we appreciate your insight, man. Hey, how's your track and field team coming? Are y'all done, or what's up with that?
So we had our league championship meet, and the guys came in second. It's the best they ever did, which was awesome. So proud of them. The girls came in second, ending the streak of 3 straight league titles we had won, which, you know what? There's nothing wrong with second. I'm happy for them. I like that the culture that they've created, that they're disappointed we finished second, which in the past, you know, you're happy to come in second. So I kind of had both sides of it with the boys and girls there. We got our state championship meet over the next couple of days. We have a chance to win on the girls' side for a 4th straight year. So next time I talk to you, hopefully we'll have 4 rings in a row. If not, it was a great season and a great run.
There you go. Coach Feinberg joining us. Coach, we appreciate it, man. Good luck to y'all this week.
Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to chat.
Thank you, Doug.
Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, let's talk a little baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
May 19th, 2004, with his pinch hit two-run home run in the bottom of the eighth, Julio Franco tied the Braves with visiting Arizona at 4-4, and at the age of 45 years, 8 months, and 27 days, became the oldest major leaguer to homer, breaking the record he set 2 weeks previously. Despite the ageless wonder's heroics, the Braves dropped a 6-4 decision to the Diamondbacks in 11 innings. That was this day in Braves history. Marcell Ozuna not close to 45, but he absolutely crushed one over the Green Monster yesterday to kind of cap off the Braves' 10-4 win at Boston, getting them over 500 for, I think, the second time this week. 24-23 coming out of there after taking 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox, despite that 7-6 walk-off debacle on Saturday night. Big series for Atlanta, though. 20 runs in 3 games, prompting friend of the show, David Wilson, to ask if we could play all of our games in Boston. I don't know if it's necessary that the Braves play all of their games in Boston, but I think it would be a huge help if they could play all of their games against the Red Sox pitching staff. So we'll see if the offense travels when they go to Washington for 3 starting tomorrow. But, you know, again, 20 runs in 3 games, you'll take it.
Couple of nice wins, and you got the you bopped Crochet on the nose on Friday night with a couple in the second inning, and then made them hold up. That's about as good of a series realistically as you can expect coming out of that one for Atlanta. That's a quality business-like performance this weekend.
Absolutely. It feels like they are getting back to business, and Drake Baldwin is making it harder and harder to keep him out of the lineup. The left-handed hitting rookie catcher with a home run in that Saturday night loss, as Atlanta was up, I think, 6-2 at one point before the bullpen spit the bit in that one and took the loss. Got some things that have got to be cleaned up out of the bullpen, but this starting pitching has really been getting it done, starting with Chris Sale on Friday night, like you said, in his return to Beantown. So big performance all 3 days. Grant Holmes holding the Red Sox down in that Saturday game, and then Schwellenbach just, at this point, it's just kind of doing what Schwellenbach does, really. I mean, so, and they're going to get a boost. All indications are that Spencer Strider will start tomorrow night against the Nationals in Washington. So, you know, doesn't get any easier for teams facing the Braves, I don't think. We'll see how that works out. Houston with some late offense yesterday, as former Vandy boy Jack Leiter goes 6 2/3, no hit innings for the Rangers before Yanier Diaz breaks it up with a solo shot in the 7th. And after Leiter comes out, Isaac Paredes with a 3-run home run in the 8th to push the Astros to a 4-3 victory. Split that 4-game series as a result of that win. So big win for the Astros as well.
Yeah, seemed to get some timely hitting, which is always clutch. And yeah, Diaz has been hot over the last 10 days or so. Good little, not the best result, but a good little result for Houston, kind of keep the status quo a little bit. Them and the Rangers right there at 2.5 back of the Mariners over in the West.
Yeah, Houston, each of them, both 2 games over 500 there. Houston moving to 24-22 with the win. Texas dropping to 25-23 with the loss. Again, over the weekend, it was the Rangers with a 5-1 win on Saturday, preceded by the Astros 6-3 win on Friday. So, and I think Texas won 1-0 on Thursday. So a split there between those two Lone Star State and AL West rivals there. Man, if you are a manager and your team is not going well these days, be wary. The Orioles on Saturday pulled the trigger on Brandon Hyde after a 15-28 start. And I guess this team was particularly disappointing because they've made the playoffs each of the last 2 years, but have not gotten anything to show for it. Lost in the wild card round last year, in the divisional round the year before that by Texas. So I guess the patience in Baltimore with Brandon Hyde ran out. Third manager in about 10 days to lose his position, following obviously Derek Shelton in Pittsburgh about a week and a half ago, and Bud Black last weekend. Not a lot of patience.
No, especially not for Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore is probably thinking thank you to the coaching or to the front offices of those two franchises for doing. They didn't want to be the first, it felt like, but it felt like this move was much needed for a team that had, massive expectations, and they have absolutely stunk through the first 45 games this season. For a team with that caliber of talent and that caliber payroll and those expectations, it felt like a question of if but not when. And they're probably, thinking, okay, the Pirates and the Rockies did us a little bit of a solid. Now we don't look quite like the evil villains by making the move. But, yeah, it felt like it has been needed for a while. They are bad.
Absolutely. I mean, 3 before Labor Day, man, that's wild. But, we talked about both Pittsburgh and Colorado. We talked extensively with Thomas Harding, who covers the Rockies for MLB.com, about how really neither of those teams necessarily spent a whole lot of money to try to fortify their roster. Baltimore, on the other hand, signed Tyler O'Neill, 3 years, $49.5 million. He's hitting 188. They signed former Brave starter Charlie Morton. He signed a 15 million one-year deal. Charlie is 0-7 with an 8.35 earned run average. Former Yankees catcher Gary Sanchez has been on the injured list for the last 3 weeks. Reliever Andrew Kittredge has been on the injured list for the entire season. They've got $18.5 million wrapped up in those two guys combined. So just because you spend money doesn't necessarily mean you spend it well, apparently. And it sounds like that's been the case for the Orioles.
Upper half of MLB, about 162 million spent on that team. And you're not going to outspend the Yankees. You're probably not going to outspend the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you cannot be that bad in that division. Especially considering, the Yankees have clearly been the best team, but they haven't been just world beaters. So it felt like, maybe Baltimore had a glimmer of hope, except they have fallen on their face every single time. Just 15 wins. I mean, the White Sox have one fewer win than the Orioles.
Yeah. Meanwhile, tasks with turning things around for the Orioles is former Vandy boy Tony Mansolino, who has been named interim manager. There's a nice piece up on the Nashville Post website. Mansolino never played as a major leaguer, but has been Baltimore's third base coach since 21 and has now slid into the interim managerial position there. Not a whole lot of change, though, as the Nationals defeated Baltimore 10-6 and 10-4 in Mansolino's first two games. Mansolino was a third baseman at Vanderbilt in the early aughts from 2002 to 05. A 26th round pick in the 2005 draft by the Houston Astros, played 6 minor league seasons, has coached in the Cleveland Indians organization. Shows you how long ago that was. Before, again, joining Baltimore and becoming their third base coach back in 2021. So good luck, man. So you're going to need it. We talked about Don Kelly taking Derek Shelton's place as Pirates manager. We mentioned that he got kicked out of his second game in that role. Well, on Friday, he got tossed yet again. So maybe he's figured out, these guys aren't very good, and I don't necessarily want to watch 9 innings of them every night. So 7 games, 2 ejections for Don Kelly. He has wrapped it in, I've got my guys' backs, and, I can appreciate that. Friday against the Phillies, apparently Bryce Harper got a check swing call in his favor that Don Kelly did not really appreciate, got thrown. Phillies scored 5 runs in the inning and won the game. So I don't know if he was trying to get his guys fired up or what, but it did not work that way, as Pittsburgh continues to struggle regardless of who the manager is.
Yeah, not good for those guys. And maybe he's on to something, get first in line at the buffet after the game, get a head start on things, and you don't got to go out there and, beat yourself up for the remainder because, they are bad.
Yeah. Apparently, this Philadelphia-Pittsburgh series was where the action was this weekend, because news came down of Phillies reliever Jose Alvarado getting suspended for 80 games after a performance-enhancing drugs violation, similar to the outfielder Jurickson Profar for the Braves earlier this year. So, Alvarado's out for 80 games, and that will also take him out of the postseason mix for Philadelphia, assuming that there is a postseason for Philadelphia, because this guy was their closer. 2.70 ERA, 6+ strikeout to walk ratio over 20 appearances, 7 saves, including the one Friday against Pittsburgh. So quite the eventful series in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, for the Phillies and Pittsburgh. And finally,
they did you see the tip of the cap, though, that local television did to the poop scoreboard this weekend?
I didn't see it this weekend, but I have seen it before.
I forget if it's Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, but they've updated their score bug, and fans immediately back in March knew what that meant. That meant the end of the poop. Anytime you got the P for Pittsburgh and the P for Philadelphia and the score 0-0, it spells out poop. But they did. The local TV did a full in memoriam package, which was really, really great stuff and compelling over the weekend. So, you had all of that, but you also had kind of the revisiting of the poop scoreboard, which is always exciting.
In the finale of that series on Sunday, it was Paul Skeens matching up with rookie right-hander Mick Abel, who was making his major league debut. All Abel does is strike out 9 and throw 6 shutout for the Phillies, and dealt Skeens yet another loss. Skeens is suddenly 3-5 on the season, I do believe. So sophomore slump, I don't know, but it's been a little bit of a struggle for the reigning NL Rookie of the Year, and Mick Abel adding to those struggles. Again, 9 strikeouts, gave up 5 hits, no walks over that 6 innings of work before handing it off to the Alvarado-less bullpen for the Phillies as they picked up the win. So tough stretch, I guess, for Skeens here at this point.
Yeah, it hadn't been pretty for the guy. He is still your Cy Young favorite, but Wheeler, Yamamoto, and Logan Webb and Hunter Green are all bearing down on him, and I don't know how you could justify at some point the switch will flip and the bettors will go against him because he's really the only draw for Pittsburgh at this point. And even, in some losing efforts, he's still giving you some glimpses of brilliance there. But yeah, even he has not been great. That whole team has been a struggle from jump.
He's 0-3 in his last 4 starts, during which he's compiled an ERA of 2.52. So his struggles are as much a function of the Pittsburgh offense as anything else. He's just not getting a whole lot of support. Did not yesterday in that 1-0 loss. So it's tough when you're going out there and you got no margin for error, and that apparently is kind of the case for Skeens. And I saw something over the weekend. Somebody suggested maybe the Pirates should just trade Skeens and get what they can for him because they are so bad. I don't know how you sell that. I mean, if you've got, a ticket seller like Skeens and you trade that guy as bad as they are, I mean, I don't know if people continue to come out and watch at that point.
The only thing, that guy's only going every 5 days. If you could maybe flip him into a halfway serviceable haul of some position players, at least you can sell them. It was like De La Cruz a couple years ago, right? At least you can show up and see him every day. You have to wait every 4th or 5th day to see Skeens if you're even lucky at that point. So I don't know. You can't do that. You can't do that. But yes, they need a whole lot more than that guy. And they do have some talent, sounds like, further down the line, but it's not coming up anytime soon and not going to lead to any success anytime soon.
Yeah, right. And I think that's exactly the dilemma that, you need more than that. One guy every 5th day who you feel like is a lockdown certainty for a dub for you. But 1 out of every 5 isn't really getting it done for Pittsburgh at this point. So I don't know. I don't know how realistic that is or if it's realistic at all, but you can kind of understand the thought process, if nothing else. So interesting times in Pittsburgh. Finally, the Sounds we mentioned during the rundown, they fell to Memphis yesterday, but they win that series 4-2. They open a 6-game series back at First Horizon Park tomorrow against Scranton Wilkes-Barre. This will be the Rail Riders' first trip ever to Nashville. So Yankees AAA Farm Club. Be sure and get out there and check them out. And is it Tailwagging? It's Tailwagging Tuesday, right, Wade?
Should be tomorrow. Yep. Every home Tuesday.
There you go. Let's take a break as hour number 1 comes to a close here on the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will get into postseason play at the professional level. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts up right now. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. This is the weekend wrap-up, and both the NBA and the NHL offered us a Game 7 over the weekend, and they were not what you would have expected, I don't think. Is that fair to say, Wade?
Yeah, in terms of drama and, a crazy finish, we certainly didn't get either one in either one of those series. You're right.
Yeah. In the NBA, we'll start, though, in the East as the New York Knicks put the Celtics out of their misery, 119-81, finishing that series off 4-2. I don't think Boston ever expected to lose a game by 38 in the postseason, but they didn't expect to be without Jason Tatum either. So the tough turn of events for them.
Yeah, and I thought maybe Boston. It was good. A fascinating little case study with Brown finally kind of getting to run the show as the 1, Derek White sliding in as the number 2, and that seemingly gave me just enough of a dash, to maybe believe in Boston, but really things just got off the rails early. A second quarter just buried the Celtics. They were never in it. People were rocking. Chalamet is sitting courtside at the Garden. Just having a ball. And New York they had too much for Boston, even with Tatum at times in this series. And really a fascinating story. Now we were trending toward a second year championship coronation in the middle of the summer for the Celtics. Now, all of a sudden, hefty tax bill, new ownership, injured star player out for all of next season. Where do they go? It was a crash and burn job for the ages for them as New York moves on to the conference finals. I will be very, very curious to see what next year looks like in Beantown.
You mentioned it was the second quarter that kind of did the Celtics in. It was the second quarter that did the Nuggets in yesterday, as well as Oklahoma State. I'm sorry, Oklahoma City blew open that game before halftime and picked up a 125-93 win. But this game was a 42-point game at one point when I looked up. I think it was like 124-82 at one point before Denver closed late. But yeah, literally this one was over by halftime.
Yeah, it was a classic good news, bad news situation at the Neely household. Good news, cool news. Wife surprised me with tickets to the symphony yesterday to see Indiana Jones as performed by the Nashville Symphony. Bad news, I said, oh no, it's during Game 7 of the Thunder and the Nuggets. And then at intermission, I checked the scoreboard and I said, okay, maybe not bad news. And really, the Nuggets had gone 7 in the first series versus the Clippers. I was surprised that they were able to drag themselves and look better at times in this series than they did. But man, you got to wonder. I saw a great social post yesterday that said, who in the world is the doctor that cleared Aaron Gordon? Because by his own admission, he said he would probably have had to miss 2, 3, 4 games if this were not a do or die situation. And without him, they just simply do not have the role players as great as Jokic is, as great as Murray can be, outside of that, even with a spotty performance here and there from Russ West and MPJ, they don't really have anybody else. Gordon was the real superhero for them this postseason after Jokic. And without him, they were kind of coming in knife to a gunfight type situation, it seems like yesterday.
Unfortunate. I mean, this series had drama written all over it, and for it to wind up like that, it's just kind of really anticlimactic. But, there's just not a whole lot you can do about injuries, and it feels like everybody's kind of been impacted by them. Again, Tatum in Boston, Denver with Gordon, and Curry missing the tail end of that Minnesota series.
And the entire Cavs roster.
Yeah, and the entire Cavs roster, exactly, against Indiana. So
you're right. And, Game 7 was a stinker, but this was a heck of an effort for Denver, who still feels, in a weird way, like they're the champs, even though Boston won, even though Denver didn't even get to the conference finals last year. It feels like they still have, as long as they have Jokic and Murray kind of pulling the strings, they're right there. And we saw that. They pushed pushed OKC to 7 games, just somehow, some way, just sheer will with an interim coach, basically. So kudos to the Thunder for getting it done. They bombed them to death in Game 2, and then they did it again in Game 7. It was an electric series that will kind of be remembered for a little bit of an anticlimactic finish. But props to Denver on the job that they did do, and now we set up a fantastic showdown. Someone's narrative is going to have to crumble in the Western Conference. We saw Minnesota get there last year and look like they were going to cruise to the championship, only to get thwarted by Dallas. OKC stubbed their toe last year. Something's got to give when these teams lock horns starting tomorrow night.
Minnesota and OKC tomorrow night, Indiana and the Knicks on Wednesday night. And while it's been a while for those two teams, there is a storied postseason history between the Pacers and the Knicks. It'll be interesting to see where Reggie Miller and where Spike Lee, among others, are for these.
Yeah, Hicks versus Knicks, run it back, right? One of the greatest 30 for 30s for my money, winning time. We're going to have John Starks clips coming out of our ears. Did this dude just did this? It's going to be electric in the Garden. It'll be electric in Indiana. Only one team can advance. And, if OKC maybe stubs its toe, it feels like we could have a really, really fun finals versus Minnesota from those teams. But then again, I'm also kind of out of the business of doubting either one of these teams because they both have showed a lot of heart to get where they are thus far. It should be fun in the East as well.
How do you think the NBA feels about a Pacers Thunder matchup?
Probably not great. We saw this last year, right? With the Knicks when they make it versus the Pacers in the semifinals last year. There was like 1% of coverage dedicated to ESPN to the Pacers. We saw Stephen A. do his walkout in the cowboy hat. Everything was Knicks, Knicks, Knicks. And rightfully so, because that's your major market that you're selling. But yeah, from a ratings perspective that the NBA is, they would have liked to have seen LA. They would have liked to have seen Boston. But you may end up with the Pacers and the Thunder. Still will be a great series from a basketball purity standpoint, but probably not any shred of epicness from your ratings, you would imagine, if that's how it plays out.
Yeah, you wouldn't think.
And we're not talking about Minnesota as they're a non-championship franchise. At least you could sell that, I suppose. The fact that they've never won one. But yeah, it's they're going to have to get crafty with their PR efforts. That is for sure.
Well, and I guess if it's Minnesota, you can also sell the evolving face of the league as so many people kind of want to throw on Ant now.
Yeah, that's your selling point, right? Your only major American star, especially now that Tatum is out, is Anthony Edwards in this playoffs, really. You can market Brunson, but Edwards is the guy that everybody has kind of anointed as the next savior of the league in terms of American superstars. That is your big selling point. Watching him and SGA go toe-to-toe will be fun. That is going to be a fun series, and I still think that the Thunder, I'm not going to say will cruise, but will certainly be the favorites in that series. But if you get to a championship and Edwards is kind of there, yeah, that's your selling point for sure. You're right.
Dallas advances in the Western Conference with a 4-2 win. With a 2-1 win in overtime over Winnipeg. They win that series 4-2 to nail down the other spot in the Western Conference Finals.
Felt like an inevitability, right? I was pleasantly surprised by the backbone that Winnipeg showed to get it further down the road and win that second game on Thursday night. But Saturday, props to getting it to OT. They had Hellebuck, who's, still the best goalie in the world, but he can only carry him so far. The bad part is, and a really, emotional situation with Scheifele losing his father and then still scoring the goal, but it wasn't enough on Saturday for them to get the win. Winnipeg can hold its head high. They just ran, in my mind, into a much more determined and much more talented team right now.
Edmonton and Dallas get the Western Conference Finals started on Wednesday. Toronto forced a Game 7 with a 2-0 win over the Panthers. But, speaking of Game 7 flops, it was Florida 6, Maple Leafs 1 in that decisive Game 7. You got the Panthers and the Hurricanes getting things started in the East tomorrow night.
Yeah, pure destruction in Game 7. And at the jiu-jitsu gym, we've got a guy that's a massive Florida Panthers fan, and I asked him how he felt about the series going into the weekend, and he kind of said, I'm a little nervous, but not that nervous because Toronto is going to Toronto. And, Toronto. Man, laying an egg at home, that's about as tough as it gets. Yes, you got it to Game 7 with an epic performance on Friday night on the road. They did get one win on American soil, but Toronto, for all the expectations, for all of the history that kind of they're still chasing, they couldn't get it done. And Florida, a chance to go back-to-back is very much in the cards for these guys. Should be a fun one when they get started tomorrow night.
It has got to be tough if you're the Maple Leafs. Last Stanley Cup win was in 1967. They have lost 7 straight Game 7s, counting this last one, and that's brutal. And I mean it brings about the Toronto gonna Toronto, I guess, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have done this to themselves. In a way, this has been the most successful run that it feels like that they've had in a while. And man, right when I was maybe coming around to the idea of it would have been kind of cool to see Toronto and either Winnipeg or Edmonton give us an all-Canadian Stanley Cup Finals just to let them kind of duke it out and let Canada finally win one. But then I said, no. I want Canada to have to earn it. I want them to have to beat one of the better teams from the U.S. So Toronto politely took care of that by bowing out. And so if it is going to be a team from the Great White North, it'll have to be the Edmonton Oilers. And, I don't know how that series will shape up. I do think Florida and Carolina will be a fun series. It will not be as much of a pushover in Game 7. I can guarantee you that for Florida when they puck drop tomorrow night over there in North Carolina.
56 years without a cup. That's, for an original 6 franchise in particular, I guess that's got to be really tough to swallow. So again,
and no Canadian team since '93.
Ooh, and they invented the sport, right?
That's what some would tell you.
Yeah. Again, Game 1 is Florida at the Canes tomorrow night, followed by Edmonton at Dallas on Wednesday. So we're down to the Final Four on the ice, or the Frozen Four, as the NCAA likes to say. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will check in with longtime college baseball umpire Scott Klein as we get ready for the SEC tournament down in Hoover this week. Stick around when we come back.
Get ready, race fans. NASCAR is back in Music City with a new name, the Cracker Barrel 400. Guitars, fast cars, and the comfort of Cracker Barrel's country hospitality. May 30th through June 1st. The action kicks off Friday night at Nashville Superspeedway with the Rackley Roofing 200. Then the Tennessee Lottery 250 on Saturday. And Sunday night, NASCAR's top stars under the lights in the Cracker Barrel 400. Get your tickets now at NashvilleSuperspeedway.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The weekend wrap-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And we are joined now by, as he said when we crossed paths here 2 or 3 weeks ago, the second most famous guy from Portland, Tennessee, Scott Klein, longtime college baseball umpire. He says he was the most famous guy from Portland until some guy named Corey Brewer came along.
Yeah, hey, good to be here, guys. But I'll take a back seat to that guy any day of the week. And Corey did some amazing things for my little community of Portland up there, and still does to this day. So no, that's we all hang our hat on Corey. We all brag about him. So glad to be with you guys.
You could do worse, and we appreciate you taking some time with us, Scott. I know you're getting ready to get to work tomorrow down in Hoover as the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament cranks up. I mean, you got to be a baseball fan to be an umpire, I think. But how does your avocation impact that?
Yeah, well, I guess I kind of give you the long answer. I don't know if this is what you're looking for, Mo, but
we've got time.
I'm going to call you Mo, man. I'm going to roll with Mo. That's what I know you as.
You're just fine.
But no, back, I played at Maryville College when I left Portland, played baseball over there. And so obviously had a love for the game. And at some point in time, somebody's going to tell you you're not good enough to keep playing, right? So after I got out of school, I was eventually told that and decided I wanted to stay in the game and just was a young dad, trying to make ends meet. And the primary job wasn't quite enough to make that happen. I had 2 young children at the time, and I said, I got to find something else to do. And I dabbled in some umpiring when I was in high school and a little bit in college. And then I said, it's time to get serious about this. So, like many people, if you started umpiring in Middle Tennessee, a gentleman named Doris Armstrong had something to do with your training. And my man Doris. So I could tell some great stories about him. And not only was he a great football mind, but he's done a lot of great things for baseball. And fortunately, I was able to get my start in umpiring under Doris in the mid-'90s in high school, and stayed in high school about 3 or 4 years. And then things took off for me once I went to an umpiring camp over at Middle Tennessee State and got into college baseball. and things have obviously progressed from there. So yeah, it's you gotta love it. You gotta want to do it. You got to be thick skinned. You can see it already took a toll on my hair. So yeah, you really got to love the game to do what we do, especially in today's social media driven world.
Our producer Mark was taking note of the social media world. I assume you do not have a Twitter account.
I don't, and I tell you, I sell real estate on the side, and I've been living under a rock for 25 years, which we want to. And I say that because I didn't even have a Facebook page until, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And I said, well, if I'm going to sell real estate, I got to try to get my name out here. So yeah, we are not ones that, nobody's ever going to write, Scott Klein made a great call at whatever, you're not going to get that kind of publicity as an official. So it's best just to steer clear of all that and not be on any of it. But unfortunately, I had to for my other job.
Yeah. Mark would agree with you on that, but you say things took off for you after a little time at the high school level. I would dare agree with you. This will be what, your 14th Southeastern Conference tournament?
This is my 14th. Yes, it is. And at 14th and final, and it never gets old. I tell people I have worked 4 College World Series. When you get to Omaha, the first part of it, I'm going to get back to the question you just asked me. When you get to Omaha, it's a little bit more of a social event. Everybody's hitting the beach ball up in the air. You may have a pocket of fans over here for a school and a pocket of fans over here for the other school. And then everybody else is just there for the experience. Now it intensifies as you get to the end and, the schools feel, hey, we got a chance. That's when all their fans start flooding in. Well, it's kind of like that, kind of on steroids here at Hoover. That happens a little bit quicker. The fans like, hey, we got a chance and it's not that far of a drive, so let's go. So even though a lot of these schools know that they're going to advance the NCAA postseason play, you still have the pressure because they all want to win that SEC championship. So it's and now with the new format this year, everybody's here. So that's going to be ratcheted up and even another notch. So the intensity is definitely here. And yes, this is my 14th and final one. So, but it's always a great time.
Everybody's there, but they're not there for long with the single
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes they exit early. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Scott, you used the term dabble earlier. I'm curious, at what point did you decide, hey, I'm done dabbling in this thing and I want to really kind of take it to the next level? How did that process come about for you?
Yeah, that's a funny question. I was umpiring American Legion Regional, I think in 1998, and I was at Volunteer State Community College. I'll never forget, Puerto Rico was playing Georgia. It was about 100 degrees. I was so young in my career, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to go to whatever base where somebody wasn't and hopefully fill in the spot. But I was still young and athletic. There was a gentleman in the stands. His story goes, and you've heard that we all heard this as kids. You never know who's watching you. Well, this is a very real case right here. I'm hustling around, even though I didn't know 3-man mechanics and everything yet. And I was coming off the field, and a guy approached me from the back as I was walking to get undressed. And that's typically not a good thing when somebody approaches you as an official. This gentleman said, he said, he called me son. He goes, son, he said, would you be interested in coming to an umpiring camp at the Middle Tennessee State University in October? It was like July at the time. And I said, I'd love to. I said, tell me more about it. So it was at that point in time when I went to that camp, and that's when my baseball instincts I graduated from Maryville in 92. So we're only just, a few years after that. So I was still young, like I said, and athletic, could run and all that. And so that helps. That helps get your foot in the door. And when I went to that camp at Middle Tennessee State, I said, hey, I can do this. This is something that I can do and excel at. And they placed me in the Ohio Valley Conference right away. And that's kind of unheard of to be placed into a Division I conference your first year going to these camps and clinics. And so I spent 6-7 years in OVC, and then worked some in the Southwestern Athletic Conference during that time, and then went from the ASUN to the Sun Belt. That's kind of the progression, and then got into the SEC and ACC. I've also worked in the ACC. So I knew kind of in the late 90s, and as it's well documented, Mo, I know you've written about it, there's a shortage of officials all across the country, especially our region.
At every level.
at every level. And so I thought, I've got a shot. And that's a message to anybody who's listening. If young people want to get involved in officiating, we at all levels, college level, we're looking for good umpires as well. So that's kind of how it came about. And I've seen the game grow. It's crazy how it's grown in interest. Some of these stadiums I used to go to, maybe 500 people there on Tuesday or Wednesday night for a midweek game. We go there now, there's 6,500 on a Tuesday night, so we've really seen it change and grow in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Klein joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. He mentioned that he's working the SEC tournament this week down in Hoover for the final time, because beginning September 1st, he will become the NCAA National Coordinator of Baseball Umpires. I assume that means you're coming off the field, right?
It does. So this week is a little bittersweet for me. Today is the day when guys find out the regionals, super regionals, and College World Series assignments. And this was the first year where I obviously had to remove my name from that, because I do start my new role this September 1st. And what that role entails, coordinator of umpires, the NCAA, is my primary objective is to travel the country and evaluate. And I have a group of advisors under me that also go out and they evaluate umpires. You never know they're at a game. And it's almost like a secret shopper, if you will, I guess. So we're out in the stadiums. I'm talking about coast to coast. I could be from California to the Carolinas, and we go out and evaluate umpires and select the 96 umpires for the NCAA Division I regionals, then the 32 umpires for the NCAA Division I super regionals, and then of course the 8 that go to the College World Series. And I also work hand in hand with Division II and Division III. I will be very active in rule changes, mechanics changes for the umpires, training throughout the year for the whole country. So I'm hoping they understand this Portland, Tennessee accent, because I'm going to be talking to people from all over the country. So anyway, but yeah, it is a big role. It's a big task. I didn't want to stay too long. I've had a good run, and I thought when the position came open, I saw it posted. I said, I'm going to give this a shot, because I just came off the World Series last year. I said, I think the timing will be good here. And it turned out that it was. So I'm excited about it. It's a big challenge, but I'm excited about it.
Your 4th Men's College World Series that you're referring to last year, crew chief last year, replacing George Drouches in that role.
Yeah.
Scott Klein distinguished himself during the national search and has a proven track record of success as an elite umpire for more than 20 years, including as crew chief of the 2024 Men's College World Series. Scott has earned the respect of fellow umpires, baseball coaches, and athletic administrators, and will provide leadership to the NCAA baseball umpire program, building on the great job that George Drouches has done. I'm excited for the unique perspective Scott will bring to this role. So said Randy Buer, the NCAA Director of Championships and Alliances and Staff Liaison with the NCAA Baseball Umpire Program. Scott, when you hear somebody say something like that about you, when you see somebody say something like that about you, what's the reaction?
The reaction is, you go through your whole career and you really never know how coaches and feel about you. Because you're not going to hang out after the game and, go eat together or anything like that. So you don't know. And I think the thing that rose to the surface, I guess, if you will, during my interview process is I was shocked at how many very high level Division I umpires, names that you would know, I'm not going to mention, reached out on my behalf and said, hey, I think we've got the right guy for the job right here. And there were 3 other very good. There was 13 candidates. They whittled it down to 4. And I think the biggest takeaway with that comment that you just read from the director of the championships for NCAA was that going through it, you hope people respect you. You want to build a business rapport with them. It was never an idea or a thought of mine that I wanted to be quote unquote friends with coaches. That's not what we're there for. But you do hope to build a mutual respect so that you can manage the game and work together with them. Usually these coaches now, this is what the I would say the average fan doesn't realize. These guys need, and I would even say the ladies in basketball, female coaches, doesn't matter. These coaches, they need us to be right. They want us to be right. With the paychecks they're involved now and the scrutiny and pressure they're under, they want people. You're almost more of a consultant than anything. They want to be able to trust you and know that when things go sideways, they got somebody they can talk to. And I guess the long answer, Mo, is that through that process, I said, well, I must have did something right along the way because these guys respect me. So, and the very high level guys were in my corner too. So that meant a lot to me,
Scott, a few weeks ago, well, a couple months ago now, I guess, we were fortunate enough to have longtime college football official Russ Pulley on with us. Russ had just concluded his career. He was part of the officiating crew for the Pinstripe Bowl. And we asked him a question, and we will ask you, or I will ask you the same question. Have you kicked one?
Yes. And I tell you what, I don't know what you were doing this past weekend, but they got me this past weekend, Mo. They got me this past weekend. I had we do take a lot of pride in. It's funny you asked that. We do take a lot of pride in being right, because that's the other thing the coaches want. They need us to be right too.
Mm-hmm.
They do get 2 challenges throughout the course of the game in college baseball, and if they're correct, they get to retain that challenge. Our video in the SEC in particular, they use a system called Hawkeye now, and we used to have a lot of confirmed, stands, or overturned. Well, now this technology is so crystal clear, you're either going to be confirmed or overturned. The stands was that one in the middle where they couldn't tell. They can tell now. I mean, they can tell when it's the glove is a centimeter from the player or whatever. So what I had this past weekend, I had LSU at South Carolina, and I had a ball that went down in the dirt to a right-handed hitter, and I heard it hit a shoe. I will admit to this day I did not see it, but I heard it hit a shoe. You remember Tony Pena, the catcher for the Cardinals, used to catch with his leg out to the side? Well, this kid, all these kids are doing this now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the shoe that I heard the ball hit was the LSU catcher. And so we went to replay. And here's a funny part, not funny, but here's a weird part about it. I'm the one that's talking to Birmingham, centralized replay. So hey, Birmingham, LSU's challenging the ruling on the field of hit by pitch. Previous plays under review, right? They come back, hey, hate to tell you, but it hit the catcher. You're going to overturn yourself. So they didn't say it. They didn't say it that way. But yeah, just this past weekend I missed one. So we're not perfect. Again, the coaches know that. But they want us to again, if you can talk to them and have a good, calm demeanor, and they know they can trust you, they know we're human, okay, and we are. So,
Scott, I'm curious in that regard. Walk us through, what does it look like? Okay, that's SEC level, which is about as close to the big leagues as you can get. Right. How does that look at a smaller conference? Don't have to name anyone in particular, but I imagine it's totally different.
That's a phenomenal question. It's a really good question. You take some of the mid-major schools that don't have that same technology. They still, most all conferences now have replay. The quality is is not near as clear, but when it's not centralized, we call it curbside. Like the crew chief and the calling official. Well, no, they'll take a non-calling official because they don't want there to be any personal bias when you look at it. So at a mid-major, it's very common for a crew chief to take a non-calling official. They'll go look at it. The unfortunate part about it, some schools are better than others, but when you get there and you start zooming in, sometimes it gets really grainy and break up. And I'm sure you probably know more about that than I do. And it's not as clear. And that's when the officials sometimes, unfortunately, have to come back and they can't confirm it. They can't overturn it. They have to say, hey, the call stands. That's why our call on the field, especially at the mid-major level, is extremely important. It's lazy just to say, you know what, we'll just go to replay. Well, first of all, no, you won't, because they only have 2. Second of all, once you get in there, your technology might not be as good as what we have at the SEC level. So that's a very good question, and something that we battle. Sometimes in the springtime, some of those schools, if they have a lot of fans don't realize this. We may normally have, if you're at the mid-major, whatever school, you may have 5 camera angles typically. Well, if their women's basketball program is playing basketball at the same time, you may only have 2 camera angles. And so it's tough. With the resources, the lower levels you get, the tougher it gets. So,
I'm not surprised by that. Having worked at a small college, you're kind of the resources, what you have is what you get. But I'm also curious too, having been in kind of the 2 different eras, does your psyche, or has your kind of approach, whether that's you personally or the umpires as a whole, do you alter anything knowing you do have a little bit of a weird luxury in replay in your back pocket? Kind of, how does that break down?
Man, that's another outstanding question. At the SEC level, now you'll see me most of the time. You'll just see me, even if the club play is really close, I'll just give a pretty basic out or safe mechanic, because the reason for that, you give a big wind up, whack him out, and you really sell it, and they go in and overturn you. Now you look silly. At those other smaller schools, without mentioning any names, some of those smaller mid-major and lower schools, you really got to sell it there. I mean, if you're out, if you got an out, you really got to sell the coach. You got to sell everybody. So there's more animation the lower levels you get because of that. You don't have the video to support you. I will say this: I've never ran across an umpire. This is another myth from fans and the general public. We love replay. We're not intimidated by it. Number one, because we're right a whole lot more than we're wrong. That's the first reason. The second reason is nobody wants to miss a call and cost somebody a game.
Right.
We embrace replay. We love it. And it's really improved our game. So great questions though.
Scott Klein, longtime college baseball umpire, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Scott, as you're getting ready to come off the field, this will be your last field work for a while anyway. Do you go into this week any different in Hoover?
I don't. The one thing I just told one of the guys, one of my crewmates just found out he's going to the College World Series. Actually, we have multiple guys on this tournament staff that are going to the College World Series. He just called me ecstatic, and I took a minute to tell him. I said, hey, and I know what their plan is. I've been around so long, they want to celebrate me. I'm like, no, we're going to celebrate you guys this week, because I've been there and done that. It's y'all's time. Matter of fact, I'm getting out of the way in hopes that some young buck can come in here and take my spot and do a good job with it. So it is a little bittersweet. It feels weird, when you've been doing this since the late 90s, basically at this level. Roy Mewburn, I tell you, that's how far back. Roy Mewburn was the head coach at Vanderbilt when I worked my first SEC games. That tells you anything. So and so Skip Bertman was still coaching at LSU. Trying to think some of the I don't know if you remember Pac McMahon at Florida. Rod DeMonico was still at Tennessee. So yeah, it's been a long run, and could I still do it and stick around a few more years? Yeah, I could, but it's time. And but yeah, it is a little bittersweet this week. It's going to feel weird leaving here for the last time. I will say that.
The technology involving officiating has changed. How much do you think the game has changed away from what you use?
Yeah, from what I see, I can tell you for one, the athletes they really are, guys. They're bigger. They seem stronger. When I first got into umpiring, but especially when I played in the early 90s, that's going away, late 80s, early 90s. But even when I got into umpiring, if you had a couple of guys that threw 90, 91, 92, you probably had a couple of horses on your staff. If you don't throw 92, 93 in this league now, you're not going to be here. So the velocity from the pitchers, the depth of the pitching staffs, especially in this new NIL era, it seems like they've all flocked to this league. Now you still get quite a bit of that in the ACC as well. But the biggest thing as I see is the size and the speed of the athletes and just the velocity. I'm sure these kids are getting much better training now when they're younger than we did. And it shows because there was a kid from LSU last weekend that they brought in the ninth inning. I can't remember his name. He came in and the first pitch he threw in warmups was 98. You can go sit in a big league game all day and not see a guy throw 98. And I think he touched 100, 101. So it's not uncommon to see that in this conference. And that looks like an aspirine coming at you. You got to be on your game when you see when that starts.
That's just what I was getting ready to ask you. As the home plate umpire, that velo and the spin rate and that kind of thing, how much harder does that make it your job?
The concentration level that's required to do that for 3.5 hours, you wouldn't believe it. It does add another element to it, but I played baseball, basketball, and football in high school. Played baseball in college, of course. This, to me, with what I experienced, this is clearly the hardest thing I've ever done is to work the plate in this league. And then you have all the technology and the scrutiny that behind that with the TrackMan and the things that we, where you're evaluated literally every single pitch. We usually get those results as soon as we get back in the locker room. The problem with our technology is we have a static box that doesn't move. So if you have a guy that's 6'4", that box is the same for a 5'9" guy. That changes in the big leagues. They have that ABS system where if Aaron Judge is batting, he's not getting the same zone as Altuve is. I mean, it adjusts. So ours is a little skewed, but they do use that as a you can tell if a guy's going off the plate with our TrackMan system. So everybody asked me, what's it like working a plate in this league? And it's intense. It's extremely intense. So, but that comes with the territory.
Favorite game?
Favorite game. I will have to say it got pretty intense. Game 2 last year. And there's a bunch I could think of, but it got very intense last year. Game 2, I was on the plate for Texas A&M and Tennessee. That game was on ABC. I'm not sure if you remember or not, but Tennessee led pretty much the entire game, or for the majority of the game, and then A&M loaded the bases late, and they brought a pinch hitter in, left-handed hitter, and he hit one to the warning track. I thought it was gone, and I think that would have tied the score. It would either tied the score or put A&M up one. I can't remember what the final was, but that was pretty electric atmosphere. And then game 3, the very next night, Tennessee won that game. Texas A&M won game 1. Tennessee won game 2, and then the next night is when Tennessee closed it out. I was at second base for that. That game was electric too. Just a buzz in the stadium. In 22, I was there when Ole Miss won it. I don't think I've ever seen a school take Omaha over the way Ole Miss did. They took the entire town over. It was absolutely insane. So those are some that I remember the most.
Are y'all able to get out in Omaha and enjoy and kind of keep that low profile?
In 16, I went when Coastal Carolina won it. Yes, you could then. In 19, when Vanderbilt won it, I was there. You could then. What changed was I've been a crew chief in 22 and 24. When 22, when Ole Miss won it, and then 24, when Tennessee won it. My face is plastered on TV. You can think of Steve Shaw. Y'all can think of the football officials that you've seen. So my face is plastered on TV for 2 weeks announcing the result of replays. So in 22 and 24, I saw that get more difficult. So I spent more time in my hotel last year for that very reason. But you can still get out and about. You just got to be smart about what you do and where you go. Yeah.
Great. Scott Klein, the newly named National Coordinator of Baseball Umpires for the NCAA as of September 1st, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Scott, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Mo, I might have lost you. I might. It could be.
Yeah, he froze momentarily. He was getting ready to give you one last send-off, Scott, because we certainly appreciate you taking some time and shedding some light on everything. Best of luck this week, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. You guys have a great day.
Appreciate you, Scott. That was Scott Klein. Again, veteran college baseball umpire. Mo is back. Welcome.
Mark, are we still here?
We got you, Mo.
Okay, cool. I guess I lost connection, but let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports today. Let's come back for the final segment as we wrap things up here on the weekend wrap up. Stay tuned.
Are you the biggest race fan? Our friends at Rackley Roofing want to send you to the Rackley 200 Craftsman Truck Series race at the Nashville Superspeedway on May 30th. Go to your favorite Main Street Media page and click the Enter to Win banner. We will see you at the track.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier Whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
It's the final segment of the weekend wrap-up here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. NSC DC United 0-0 Saturday night over at Geodis. And for all of the buildup that we gave the boys in gold going into this matchup against a not great side, as scoreless, what's the takeaway there, Wade?
A couple different ways to look at it. If you want to go glass half full, they were playing their third match of the week. A lot of wear and tread on the tires, so to speak, of Nashville. Scored early, but had it overturned. You know, you could frame it that way if you want. But by and large, and entering this week, if you said, hey, Nashville's going to get 7 points from 3 matches, you probably would have said, okay, I'll take that. But kind of like baseball, when you win that first 2 games of the series, you want the third to go along with it. And didn't work out that way. Like I said, Bunbury had a goal or crossed one to Mukhtar, who finished, but they just ruled that Bunbury was offside. Nashville kind of controlled the early part of the match, but then after that, one was called back, insanely close, as Ben Wright pointed out. It was really kind of blah, it seems like, from there. Nashville, kind of as I speculated late last week, Mo, they rotated a lot of guys. They have a huge cup match coming up Wednesday versus Orlando. So they did kind of thread the needle, or at least try and thread the needle, get the win if you could at home, but also try and take care of business at the midweek here. Didn't really do either. You got a point, which is better than nothing, but you certainly would have liked that, especially entering Saturday night, to take all 3. But you got to you can't be too upset with the 7 you got in the 3 home matches, but you sure would have liked 9.
Absolutely. Joe Willis with another clean sheet. I mean, I guess that's a plus. Even though the offense didn't come through with a goal, at least you got a solid performance out of Willis in goal.
Yeah, keep DC off. The fact that you weren't necessarily at your best, attacking wise, that's part of it. But the fact that you don't yield anything is certainly got to be a little solid there. And I mean, it's been a slog, as we've touched. They got 34 matches this season, and 10 of them have been in the month of May. So this has been a grinder of the part of their schedule. Just 3 matches in general in MLS play in the month of June. So Some rest will be coming, but yeah, you would have liked to have taken a little more away from that. Unfortunate that they didn't get all three.
Pretty cool bit of news here. Chris Applewhite made his first MLS start Saturday night against DC United. The night before that, he graduated from Curry Ingram Academy. 17 and some change is the NSC defender.
Putting the student and student athlete, as you might say there. Yeah, getting it done. He's been impressive, right? I mean, coming in and making his first start, already kind of had impressed a little bit. But, replacing Palacios and a couple other guys kind of tinkering with that lineup a little bit. Cool to see him kind of give Callahan a few more options kind of at the back. That, if you're wondering, that is maybe the area that you would be concerned about. You feel pretty confident about what you got up top and in the middle. But at the back, there's just, if there is going to be a question, it would be back there. But you feel like you maybe have another solidifying piece now suddenly.
Still no word on Walker Zimmerman, I guess?
Doesn't seem like it. Was not listed on the team sheet on Saturday as a starter or as a reserve. Maybe just taking the long-term approach. The fact that Nashville has slogged its way through all these games with much more success than not has got to be encouraging. Be real fascinated to see. We got a couple international call-ups coming up in the month of June. I'll be fascinated to see if he is any part of that equation for the U.S. as well. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that he still is sidelined for NSC.
Yeah. As you mentioned, NSC goes to Orlando, taking on Orlando City as the U.S. Open Cup continues. That'll be a round of 16 matchup there. As the grind don't stop for the boys in gold.
No, and it'll be interesting because Orlando, they had to play on Sunday. So at least Nashville got, like I said, you tried to thread the needle, get the win at home, and then also kind of get some rotation for your guys to get them fresh for Saturday, for Wednesday. Didn't have that luxury quite as much for Orlando. So a chance for Nashville to make a little run here, perhaps, even though it is on the road. It would be just the second ever time they would advance beyond the round of 16 if they can go on the road to win. It will be tough. It will be a very difficult assignment at the midweek for them to do that. But, won't be shocked if they pull it off. And it will be a nice little extra feather in Nashville's cap if they could somehow go on a run and maybe really make a deep performance in this thing.
We just got done talking to Scott Klein from Hoover, Alabama, site of the Southeastern Conference baseball tournament that starts up tomorrow. Regular season wound up Saturday. Vanderbilt sweeping Kentucky to lock up the number 4 seed. The double bye that comes with that, they will not play until Thursday. Not going to try to tell you who, against the winner of Georgia and the winner of Kentucky and Oklahoma. Kentucky and Oklahoma will play the second game tomorrow. Tennessee won the first game over at Arkansas on Thursday night and then promptly dropped the next 2. They are the number 8 seed, and they will open play on Wednesday against either Alabama or Missouri. So, starting to get real across the SEC as, the new format, again, 16 teams, and it's single elimination. And I don't know necessarily, I guess this tournament's going to mean more for some folks than others, obviously, but you feel like most everybody is in except for, Missouri and South Carolina from the conversations that we've had with, Ben McKee and Chris Lee and folks like that. But, there's still some seeding to be played for and that kind of thing. And Tennessee, if they win on Wednesday, they would play top seed Texas on Thursday. Maybe there's super regional hosting at stake there for Tennessee. Heck, maybe there's regional hosting. I'm not sure. It seems kind of hard to think that a 40-win Tennessee team would not be at home the first weekend, but I guess stranger things have happened.
Yeah, you would think, and the easiest way, obviously, is to try and win as many as possible. Knoxville News Sentinel had posted some projections earlier. They actually have Tennessee going to West Virginia as the 2 seed. So at least according to their experts or their bracketologists, Tennessee could do well to win a couple games and maybe scoot up a seed line and maybe potentially get into host. But yeah, it feels like that's kind of what we're playing for. You're right. Everybody except for Missouri, maybe throw in South Carolina there, but everybody else is kind of playing for seeding and trying to improve their position as they come down the stretch here. So gonna be fascinating to see how this tournament plays out. Obviously, you want to win it. There will be a lot of emotion and some pride involved for sure, but really you're playing a little bit more elongated game of chess here.
Absolutely. NCAA softball tournament moves on to the super regional round, and they will move on without the number 1 seed Texas A&M, thanks to Conference USA champion Liberty, which knocked out A&M 6-5 in the decisive game last night. Liberty making the supers for the first time in that program's history. They will go out to Oregon. Oregon and Stanford played a whale of a game last night. The Ducks walking it off 10-7 on a home run. I think there were about 5 hit in that ball game. Fantastic ball game. Stanford goes up on a grand slam in the first inning and can't hang on. Again, Oregon wins that one 10-7. But your super regionals are set. Tennessee has Nebraska coming to Knoxville this weekend. Alabama goes to Oklahoma. It's Georgia and Florida down in Gainesville. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. You've got 3 all SEC super regional matchups. Again, Alabama's at Oklahoma, Georgia's at Florida, and Ole Miss is at Arkansas. Also, Texas Tech goes to Florida. Clemson's at Texas. Nebraska is at Tennessee. UCLA comes across the country to South Carolina, and Liberty is at Oregon. So should be some fun softball next weekend.
Yeah, action is heating up, and next couple days, next couple weeks, that's what it's all about as we kind of dive deep into it here.
Christopher Bell picked up his 4th win of the season last night in the NASCAR All-Star race up at North Wilkesboro. His first All-Star race victory. So big win for him. Again, this guy won 3 straight early in the year, hadn't been in the winner's circle since. So nice to get back, but at the same time, don't get too greedy, Christopher. No. Held off Logano for the win there. Nice performance.
Good effort by him. Look forward to kind of getting the real ins and outs from Heather a little bit later not this week, but when we reconvene with her.
Yeah, when we talk to Heather again, we will get all the deets on this one. This does it for us this week. We will be yielding to Spring Fling HQ in this time slot for the next 3 days. So be sure and keep up with everything going on in state tournament action in Murfreesboro. Again, we are done with the weekend wrap-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We'll be busy in Murfreesboro. If you see us, holler. Y'all have a great week. We'll talk to you.